What's up, Average Dad fans? Welcome back to another video. And here it is. The one that you've been waiting for. The real comparison between the top 3 Android devices on the planet. The Xiaomi 14 Ultra, the OPPO Find X7 Ultra, and the Samsung S24 Ultra. I'm going to get into everything. Design, display, speakers, battery, absolutely as much as possible in a close to 30-minute video. Let's go. So, to start off, I want to talk about the facts. The things that can't be disputed, they're not subjective, they're just facts. And the first one being the price. The Samsung S24 Ultra ranges from £1,249 all the way up to £1,549 for the 1TB version. The Xiaomi 14 Ultra ranges from £1,299 to £1,299. Yes, there's one variant available globally, so that's the only one I'm going to talk about. Now the OPPO is the only one in this comparison that is not available globally. So going on the imported prices from Gizstop, £757 will get you a OPPO Find X7 Ultra in your hands today, in that really nice black with the gunmetal two-tone finish as well. So yes, a £500 saving, but please keep in mind there are a lot of differences between a Chinese ROM and a global ROM, and if you're interested in any of that, I have done countless videos on the channel. I'm not going to go through those differences in this video. Now, other facts regarding the specs. All three are large format candy bar phones, ranging from 6.73 inches on the Xiaomi to 6.82 inches on the OPPO. So less than 0.1 of an inch between all three devices. And a big selling point, and the reason that these phones are truly ultra devices, in my opinion, is the quad rear 4K minimum lenses on the rear. Yes, these all have fantastic camera systems and setups, and I will talk about them in this video, but please subscribe because in the next couple of days I am going to make a dedicated long form camera test and comparison between these three devices. I'll throw in some Apple 15 Pro Max stuff in there, but nobody cares about that. And again, sticking with the facts, they're all Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chips inside. They all run Android 14 out the box, and they all have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery as a minimum. The OPPO actually goes up to 5,400 milliamp hours. So that to me is where kind of most of the facts, the big headline facts end. And now I want to get into the more subjective stuff. And that's display, design, how the photos look, how the speakers sound, how the software runs. Let's go. So first up, I want to talk about the display. All three of these devices, I'm pleased to say, and again, the reason why they can be called ultra devices is because as a bare minimum, they all have Quad HD Plus displays. The Xiaomi actually goes to WQHD Plus, but ultimately, they're the highest resolution phones you can get on the market. They also have the highest, some of the highest, peak nits of brightness on the market, ranging from 2500 nits on the Samsung, or 2600 nits on the Samsung, up to 4,500 on the OPPO. So unless you're on the surface of the sun, you're not going to have any issues reading any of these devices in direct sunlight. Now also, as you can see here, all three devices look absolutely stunning with 4K HDR10 plus content or simple YouTube videos or anything you want to watch. All three of these devices are fantastic. And yes, I've deliberately kept the middle one out of sync just to piss you off. So yeah, I thought I'd let you share in my pain of the middle one being about a second off from the other two. Now, I mentioned I'd talk about speakers here as well, so for the next minute or so, I want you to hear how all three speakers sound with the usual non-copyright song, and let me know in the comments what you think is the best.
Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly. Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly. Empty hearts and neon lights, they're playing with my mind. Gotta get out of here tonight. Oh, I wanna run off and fly. And I'll tell myself it's fine to be alone. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. I hate all this overthinking. Oh, 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 oh. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. Get me out of now. The more I swim, the more I'm sinking. Take me to a world of silver. No more heartbreaks, tears, painkillers. Take me somewhere unfamiliar. Bring me back to where we started out. Get me out of now. To where we started out. Get me out of now.
Now, speaker tests are always difficult to get across on a YouTube video. If you care, my opinion, the Xiaomi actually has the best sounding speakers, but the Samsung gets the loudest. The OPPO is somewhere in the middle. Now, the reason I give the Xiaomi the best speakers, just in my opinion, is because it keeps the bass tones, like there's no distortion at top volume. I don't know if it comes across in the video, but the Samsung, while it does get the loudest, it sounds a bit tinny in some areas, but please don't get me wrong, these are three of the best sounding smartphones in the world. Now, there's obviously the usual 120Hz panel on all of these devices, and they're all LTPO technology, so they'll go from 1Hz all the way to 120, which will help with battery efficiency. Which leads me on to battery efficiency. This is where the Xiaomi takes a bit of a beating so far. It's only been a few days of me using the device, so it's still learning my usage, so I'll let it off a little bit. But I don't remember the Samsung or the OPPO in the first couple of days being so bad with battery drain. The Samsung S24 Ultra and the OPPO Find X7 Ultra are minimum full day heavy use phones. I mean, even if you run stress tests, they're both going to last close to 10 or 11 hours. So on a heavy day's normal use, these phones are not going to need charged until you go to bed or even the next day. Whereas the 14 Ultra is needing charged daily for me just now. When I done my first impressions video and got lots of photos and videos, nighttime and daytime, the battery lasted about 7 hours of screen on time, which for an 8 Gen 3 chip with a 5000 milliamp hour battery, ain't good enough. Now, facts about the battery: charging speeds. Xiaomi 90 watts wired. OPPO 80 watts wired. Samsung 45 watts wired. Wireless charging. OPPO 50 watts. Xiaomi 80 watts. Samsung 25 watts. So yes, clearly these Chinese devices are far superior when it comes to charging speeds and wireless charging on the Samsung. But to be honest, if you leave any of these phones on charge for an hour, you have no battery issues for the rest of that day. Unless it's a Xiaomi sometimes. Just now. I'll give it another week and see how we get on before the full review. Now, I do just want to talk about the design. Another subjective part of any phone comparison or review. It's no secret that I really like a centered circular camera bump, which automatically takes the Samsung out of the running for best design in my opinion. I've already said how much I love the OPPO Find X7 Ultra when I'd done the full review. I think it got 4.5 out of 5 for design. Well, for me, the Xiaomi's exact same. It's got the circular camera bump. The only thing I will say is the OPPO with the two-tone black and gunmetal kind of grey is just the classiest with the stitching down the middle. The Xiaomi, spoiler alert for the full review, but it's going to get 4 out of 5 for design. I like a vegan leather back, but with the Xiaomi, if you don't want vegan leather, you have the choice to go ceramic. With the Samsung, there's no real choices. You can't go vegan leather, you can't go ceramic. All you've got is that aluminium back. Now, there's lots of colours on the Xiaomi, which is a plus point. I've gone for this lovely orange. But again, the cameras, the waterfall kind of droplets off to the side. It's not my favourite design, but by no means bad. The one thing I will shout out as far as build material, they're all IP68 water and dust resistant, but the Samsung is the only one in this lineup to use titanium for the rails. Is it a gimmick? You tell me. Does it feel nice in the hands? Yeah. But all three feel really nice, ergonomic in the hands. When you're dealing with a near 7-inch device in your hand, all three of these phones don't make it feel too troublesome. Now we need to talk about the cameras, photos. In this video, I am only showing a few samples from each device. But as I've already said, please smash subscribe because in the next few days, I'll be doing a full, long camera test video using every single lens, every single video recording, frame rate, everything I can possibly squeeze into a YouTube video. So smash subscribe if you want to see that. But in this occasion, here's some photos from each of the devices. So first up, the ultra-wide shots. One thing I will say is the Xiaomi in the center here is a bit darker. That was on me because the Xiaomi has a really easy to manipulate aperture. Yes, it goes from like a 1.6 all the way up to 4.0 f-stop. So I can manipulate that really easily within the camera app. It's great for portraits, but if you forget to change the aperture, ultimately you're letting less light in. That's why the Xiaomi in the ultra wide looks darker than the other two. I fixed it for the main one coming up. In my opinion, all three look stunning. We are dealing with three of the best camera phones on the planet. If I had to pick an ultra wide, I would maybe lean towards the Samsung because the sky looks more like how it looked in real life. While sometimes oversaturated on Samsung phones, this ultra wide, the sky looks pretty good. Now moving on to the wide angle shot, the Xiaomi is a 1-inch type sensor. The Samsung is a 200 megapixel lens, but again with a much smaller sensor. The OPPO, close to the Xiaomi, but slightly less than that 1-inch sensor. And how does it look to you? For me, the wide shot, the Xiaomi actually wins for me. at that focal range. Colours, the detail, everything looks great. But again, all three look absolutely fantastic. I would take these phones for convenience over any DSLR or mirrorless camera. And I mean that, any, for convenience. And for the third shot I want to show you, I've gone to their max optical zoom. The max optical zoom on the Xiaomi and the Samsung is 5x, whereas the OPPO has a 6x optical lens. To be honest, looking at it, I'm not seeing the OPPO zoom in much further with that extra 1x zoom, but can we all agree that 5x optical looks stunning on all of these devices? For me, there's a clear winner, and again, maybe I've got recency bias, but I'll justify it. The Xiaomi is the winner for me purely because on the 5x lens, because it's the biggest sensor of all three, it's bringing in more light without overexposing. If you look at the Samsung, to me, this is slightly overexposed. While the OPPO is great, the colours on this just don't seem as natural. Not a bad thing, but for me, the Xiaomi wins. And then max zoom. 100 times zoom on all three phones. It might actually be 120 on the Xiaomi. But ultimately at max zoom, a scenario where you're rarely ever going to do that. I would just like to shout all three manufacturers out because other than Samsung and Xiaomi for the past couple of years, anything over 30 times zoom on most phones is just horrific. Whereas I hope you will agree again that the max zoom on these isn't horrific. Well, it's no masterpiece. I think we can agree that these photos look fine. But if I had to pick a winner, it's the Samsung. At this stage, I think the Xiaomi is fine, but reading that number plate it's a bit blurry, and there's like a blue haze on the rear window that doesn't exist in real life. The OPPO, you can see the issue here. While the zoom photo is actually pretty clear, the stabilization, well, yeah, you can see how it ended up between the other two. I would say the Xiaomi and the S24 Ultra were easier to keep steady for that max zoom shot. Impressed with all three though. Now the next thing we have to discuss is the software. I've said over and over again, and I'll keep saying it, that Samsung provide the best software skin in my opinion. One UI is just a dream. With the Good Lock app, there's so much customization, and that's from like an accessibility point of view. For those that don't know, I have an eye condition. I'm partially sighted. That's why if you see me in videos with really zoomed in text or screens, and that's why I probably like zoom lenses so much. But with the Samsung, there's so many accessibility features, and yeah, I really enjoy that. And that kind of takes me to the Xiaomi and why I think HyperOS is also a fantastically accessible software skin with all the usual customization. So as you can see here with the magnification app, which is really subtle actually, it's not like in your face. Whenever I've got a message or something that's maybe just a bit too small, I just tap this button and I can zoom in or out to my heart's content. And it's the easiest and most seamless transition to magnification that I've experienced. So if you're out there and you've got an eye condition, HyperOS has got your back. Now the OPPO is fine, but it's a Chinese ROM, and this is where, again, I said I wouldn't talk about it, but I have to. It's like my duty these days. There's no Android Auto. There's no smartwatch connectivity. Some apps like Gmail will sometimes give you notifications, sometimes not. Google Pay should work most of the time, but sometimes it's a bit of a pain in the backside. That's just the price you pay for saving the price to get a Chinese ROM. With the Xiaomi being global, and with the Samsung obviously being global, there's no issues. Everything works absolutely seamlessly out the box. I also have to mention at this point the software support and updates you're going to get. Nobody, not even Google it seems these days, can beat the Android and software support you're going to get from Samsung. 7 years of security updates and 7 years of generational Android updates takes you to Android 21. That's insane. That's probably better than Apple are doing just now, which is, again, unheard of. While Xiaomi will get you 5 years of software support and 5 years of security patches, which is, again, outstanding, the OPPO can't quite offer that. We're looking at 4 years of software, Android generational updates, and 4 years of security patches. Now, for someone like myself that switches their phones more often than I have hot dinners, that's fine. But if you're looking to invest £1,000 plus in a phone, just be sure that you know that in 4 years or 5 years' time, you may be looking to upgrade, unless you're buying a Samsung, which is just, 7 years is insane. And connectivity-wise, there are nuances with the Chinese ROM not having all of the global, European and US bands and frequencies. So for some networks, you may not get full cell service, 5G or 4G. Whereas, with the Xiaomi and the Samsung, you're going to get all bands, certainly in the Europe and UK. The US, it's carrier dependent. Don't blame the phone manufacturers that Verizon are horrific. Hopefully, this video has covered a lot of what you were thinking about these three phones. Hopefully, if you were on the fence about buying one, this has either helped sway you in a direction or confirm that none of these three are for you. Whichever one, let me know in the comments if you're going to purchase one of these devices on the back of this review, or if you've already got one, and tell me your thoughts. Particularly if you've got the 14 Ultra. I want to know if you are still enjoying after a first couple of days, or if you've experienced that battery drain that I have. Am I just a one-off? Before I sign off, that's one of the things I do want to kind of talk about, and you can switch off if you like at this point. I appreciate you watching. But I just want to talk about what other reviewers say. A YouTube review is 80% subjective, and it's 100% based on the experience of that reviewer with the device. I've had a few snarky comments, not about me, but about the Xiaomi 14 Ultra, saying it crashes during the wildlife test, it's got lens condensation, the software's buggy. Folks, every single device from Apple to Samsung has issues, particularly with a pre-release unit. If you've been watching a review of the Xiaomi from someone that's got 50,000 subs or more, trust me, Xiaomi provided that unit weeks before it was released at retail. There's always software updates on day one of getting a device. There's always things they're still working on. So please don't judge Xiaomi specifically for anything to do with the software. And as far as the lens condensation, in my experience, I've obviously never experienced that. But Xiaomi aren't the only ones. When you use a big camera sensor, the OPPO had the same issue with some, like a 0.0001% of their devices. As did OnePlus with the OnePlus Open. So, just calm down. And also be aware that if you did have condensation in the lens, you would simply email Xiaomi direct and they would replace that unit instantly. So calm down in the comments. For whatever reason you feel like you need to kick Chinese manufacturers where it hurts all the time. If it wasn't for them, Samsung and Apple would never innovate. Because this is where the competition's coming from. Anyway, that's that rant over. If you've enjoyed this video, smash like. And again, you know what to do if you want to see more content. Until next time.